Is there any danger for direct military conflict between Russia and USA? And is it possible to be informed of numerous local conflicts as well as actions under foreign false flag?
Of course, there's always a direct danger whenever we have both countries, whenever we have the military of both countries supporting, even just supporting in a proxy style, enemy or hostile forces on a certain spot on this globe, we have the danger of the direct confrontation. In Syria, this danger is very big because the whole geopolitical constellation around Syria, it is like a full pot with black powder. We have Turkey as a NATO country where we have NATO troops standing, by the way, also German troops. This is what our media in Germany very likely likes to forget, that we have German troops standing not so far away from Syria right now, of course, in support of our so-called NATO friend and NATO partner Turkey. We have the Caucasus very close, a problematic area for the Russian Federation, because there also the West is supporting terrorism when it comes to Chechnya, when it comes to Dagestan. We have Iran very close there. We have, of course, Iraq, which is also very, very troubled and very endangered in its existence. Then we have Armenia, which is hosting at least 5,000 Russian troops, not so far from the Armenian-Turkish border, where also US, American and Russian soldiers are standing in not so big distance with each other. So we have in the whole region a very problematic mix of US, American and Russian activities, which can always end up in a big blow, of course. Basically, the problem is that the US has there entered a space which they shouldn't enter with military forces. It is the Russian space of interest, of security interests, as well as of stability interests. And what the Americans are doing there is that they are troubling the space by bringing instability there. So we can say that the Russians have legal and rightfully geopolitical interests in the Caucasus reaching to Syria, because Russians are fighting terrorism in Syria simply because of the reason that they want to prevent this terrorism coming to Russia itself. It's always better to fight this enemy outside your borders than letting him come in, while the US Americans are totally out of danger that Syrian terrorists or terrorists in Syria might simply step on a boat or on a land path. It's not possible to get to the United States of America. The US are an extraterritorial power from the Middle Eastern and also from the Asian or the Eurasian perspective, and they are the offensive and the aggressive power, while the forces in support of Syria are those who are legally and lawfully defending the interests of the area. So here we see also very well and very clearly this conflict, and it is about the US to withdraw from there. That would be the rightful decision, and it's not about the Russians, the Syrians, the Iranians to withdraw from the Syrian battleground. So here we have the basic problem. The United States of America need a leader who recognizes this problem. Donald Trump did some encouraging statements in this direction, but this is basically the problem, that the US have to withdraw their troops and their political and military activities.
What do you think happens with the terrorists who are retreating from the battlefield in various of corridors? And where are they going if they are from those who retreat in provided corridors?
This is maybe one of the most important problems at all, not just now when we discuss Aleppo. This is already was a problem on other battlegrounds in Syria and also in Iraq. What are we doing, or what is happening with these terrorists? These terrorists are using different ways of getting out of danger zones, not just within agreements. These terrorists, and this is maybe one of the most important topics when it comes to this problem, they also use the influx of migrants, of refugees. So we have, for example, in Europe, terrorists who are coming disguised as migrants, as refugees to Europe, and we have here already that problem. We shouldn't speak nicer about these people than they deserve it. These are terrorists, they are criminals, and of course they were supposed to be killed in a battle by those armies and forces who fight terrorism, by the Syrian army, the Iranian army, the Russian Air Force, the Russian army, and Hezbollah. So these people get out of the battle zone, they are neither punished nor arrested, nor neutralized in any other way, and they will of course go on fighting. They will just change the battleground. Maybe they will pop up in Libya, maybe they will pop up in Caucasus, maybe they will pop up in Sofia. We don't know where they are going, but these people will not change their terroristic character just by leaving a battle zone through a corridor. They will not change their opinion. They will stay with their radical ideology, which enables them to behead children, to behead old people, women, and to torture and to kill everyone for the sake of this really criminal and extremist ideology. But one of the main dangers is indeed that these people will come sooner or later to Europe, and then they will do to us and to the civilians in Europe the same thing they did already in Syria. And what is maybe the most, in a really, really bad sense, most ironical component of all that idea is that, right, our governments in Europe are their most important allies. So they enable these people to leave also through these corridors right to Europe and right to other battlegrounds. So our governments who support terrorists in Syria and in Iraq support terrorists as well when they come to Europe. And this is our main challenge of the future. I'm very convinced by that.
You should know that in Sweden they have the intention to integrate former terrorists of Islamic State. What is your opinion about that?
Well, when it comes to Swedish migration politics and Swedish politics of integration of migrants, we can simply say if Sweden would be a human being, we would have sent this human being since a long time to a mental hospital, because we would consider this human being as overly endangered to commit suicide at any time, at any place, and not just commit suicide itself, but also to kill a lot of people around. What Sweden is doing right now, no one can really explain with logics. It can be only explained with a certain extent of self-hate, which ideological blindness. But I am German, and I'm very careful now to blame other countries, because we have Angela Merkel as our leader, and Angela Merkel would be the perfect cell companion of the Swedish mental hospital patient, because what we are right now doing is exactly the same like Sweden. The only thing we can hope is that countries, especially in Eastern Europe, who have until today a very firm stance when it comes to mass migration and to national identity, that they will stay with this firm stance, that they will not apply to our German or Swedish crazy ideology, even not for money and even not for any other thing or any other sign of support, that they stay firm in this, because for us who are supporting the opposition in our countries, this is a very encouraging stance, and we are very happy to see that.
And what is the mood in Germany about the refugee crisis? Is it deliberately directed? For what purpose, and can be mixed with the flow of terrorists?
Well, in Germany, it is really hard to say, because mainstream media try to prevent, under any conditions, a real poll, how we Germans think. But there are estimations, and I would say that much more than 50% of the Germans are opposing Merkel's politics towards migration. It's not so hard to oppose these politics. You can even oppose this politics as a dedicated liberal, because what Angela Merkel was actually doing is she was simply abolishing the reign of law, the governance of law in Germany. So she abolished our borders. You get punished when you steal a car from the street, but when you come without any papers in the country and start committing immediately crimes here, you are not getting punished. I mean, this is a total disaster. out of the perspective of a law state. So even a liberal but dedicated believer in a secular law state must oppose the politics of Angela Merkel right now. Of course, what plays a role in this stance is the danger of terrorism, but we shouldn't just keep an eye on terrorism. We should keep an eye on many different levels of problems which are caused by this mass migration influx. We have also migrants coming, a big number of migrants coming from North Africa, especially from Morocco, where no war is and where nothing is, but these are then the people who are immediately getting into the organized crime, who are harassing women on our streets, harassing even children. So this is a big problem. We have also the problem of, let us call it, ordinary crime, as horrible it sounds, but also there we have the influx of the migration crisis. Of course, we have also the influx in the migration crisis when it comes to our social and labor politics. Of course, the big industries welcoming the mass migration because it means they have a future proletarian army to lower and to press the salaries. It's a very weird coalition we have by the globalist capital on the one side and on the other side by dedicated far left-wingers who are supposed to be anti-capitalists, but not when it comes to mass migration. There we have a united front of these two extremist positions. So the mass migration is connected to many problems, and a lot of people in Germany, and I think in whole Europe, realize this and see that. So I would say that the vast majority of the Germans, maybe up to 80%, are opposing Angela Merkel's politics. The problem is that not everyone who opposes Angela Merkel's migration politics is ready not to vote for her party, because many people say, yes, this is maybe one problem, but in other points she is not so bad. So that explains why the parties opposing Angela Merkel are right now not at 80 or 90%, but that she still has some support. I personally don't understand how anyone in Germany can support Angela Merkel. Maybe not if he has or she has their own children, or if you are interested in any terms of the future of this country, I think there is no justification to support Angela Merkel and her party.